This conference will now be recorded.
I'm sharing my screen. You should be able to see my screen now. So far, we just discussed about the introduction of cloud computing. And we also learned what is iaas, paas, saas, and nothing on serverless yet. We'll discuss about this. So today, we are going to have an introduction on iaas. We will work on understanding what is virtual machine, when we should use it. We'll also create a virtual machine, and then we'll also learn about various components of virtual machine. Okay. That will be our target for today. All right. So I can see some new faces today. Those who have joined just today, we're already done with 2 sessions. We're done with very basic sessions. So I request you guys to talk to your point of contact and get the recordings. I have shared the recordings to everyone. So please get in touch with your point of contacts and get those 2 recordings. Today we are in the 3rd session. Okay. All right. So today we are going to learn about Azure virtual machines. I'm sure everybody understands what is a server. Servers are called as virtual machines, and many people use the word server, but the technical term that we should use in Azure is virtual machines. So we're going to learn about this, understand what is virtual machine, how pricing works for virtual machine, how do we manage virtual machines, and we also will learn about different components of virtual machine. So before even we learn about virtual machines, the first thing that we should understand is the various offerings that Microsoft has. We already discussed about this slide. Today our focus will be on IaaS, which is infrastructure as a service. So this slide has these 4 boxes, vertical boxes, right? The first one is on-prem, and then these 3 are offerings within cloud. The first one is IaaS, which stands for infrastructure as a service. The second one is platform as a service. Third one is software as a service. Serverless would also fit under this. So now each vertical section has 2 color boxes. One of them is in green, the other one is in. So this is a legend. Green means it's our responsibility. When I say ours, not a DevOps engineer's responsibility, but someone in our team. It could be network admin, system admin, whatever role it could be. Right? The role depends on multiple factors. If something is in blue color, then that means cloud provider manages that particular task. In our case, Azure will take care of that. Microsoft Azure will take care of that. So in IaaS, you see, at least 3 different tasks are managed by Microsoft itself. That means a lot of work is abstracted from us, moved away from us. It's not our responsibility. That means a lot of cost saving to our customers. So here you see networking, storage, compute, all this is taken care by Microsoft. That means they are responsible for purchasing, provisioning physical servers. They are responsible for setting up networking. They're responsible for setting up large hard disks. All that is taken care by Microsoft. So that means when I say taken care by Microsoft, they manage it. What does it mean? Any issues with that hardware will be taken care by Microsoft. If something goes wrong, or if they become old after a few years, Microsoft will take care of replacing them with a newer one or healthier one if something goes wrong. Okay. Now, our responsibility starts from here. Choosing the virtual machine type, choosing the OS version, installation of runtimes like Java runtime, .NET, PHP, blah, blah, blah. And then development of applications and databases. Obviously, these two are anyways our responsibilities, right? So in infrastructure as service, only there is one service called virtual machine. There are many PaaS services, hundreds of PaaS services, but when it comes to IaaS, it's only virtual machine. In fact, right now the PowerPoint slide you are seeing is inside a virtual machine. We are inside Azure virtual machine. Guys, 1 second, sorry. Yeah, so let me show you one IP address. I'm not sure if you're able to see it. Yeah, you should be able to see it now, right? You see the IP address 13.72. A blue bar at the top. So I am logged into a virtual machine which is created inside Azure, and I have installed this PowerPoint. I have installed Chrome browser. I can install any other software that I need for my requirements. So you can also create virtual machines for your production environments. Okay, so today we are going to learn how to do that. So virtual machines are part of IaaS offering. Virtual machines are kind of instant computing infrastructure which can be managed over internet. So I am from India, Hyderabad, but I can create a virtual machine anywhere in the globe in which Microsoft has data centers. All that management can be done over internet. Right? That's what I am doing now, right? I am logged into that server. Guys, can you please go on mute? Okay. It is very easy to increase and decrease the capacity of the server. For example, our personal laptops, right? It is not easy for us to increase the capacity or decrease the capacity. It's not possible, right? It's not easy. It is possible, but it's not easy. And there will be a limit for sure, right? For example, my laptop's RAM cannot exceed 32 GB because my motherboard supports only up to 32 GB. But here it's not the case. There are many different sizes. I will show you how to increase or decrease the sizes. What are the various sizes available of that? We'll see. So when should we go to virtual machines? We should choose virtual machines when you want complete flexibility. That means you should be able to log in, you should be able to download something, install anything. You want the control on registry, you want the control on entire operating system. In that case, you should go to IaaS, which is virtual machine. The same things are not possible in platform as service. We'll talk about platform as service in the upcoming sessions. But flexibility is only available in virtual machines, but not in PaaS services. Okay, we already discussed why, right? And then, yeah, Azure Virtual Machines provide us operating system, a version of operating system, storage, network capabilities, blah, 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 and many other different things, right? So now pricing, there are two components which will decide the pricing. One is compute, the other one is storage. So compute means, obviously, you know, right? CPUs, RAM, all these fall under compute. Storage, obviously, we know C drive, D drive, not D drive, but C drive, E drive, F drive, depending on how many drives you want. Based on that, the cost might increase or decrease. Okay. Right. So naming conventions must be followed for sure, and we already seen the naming conventions while we were discussing about our demos. So one good practice is to have your environment name So whenever you create any resource in Azure, right, it could be a virtual machine, it could be resource group, anything. You need to provide the environment name, a location, and an instance number. You can start it with 1, 2, and so on. And then role, what exactly you are doing inside that virtual machine. Is it for web servers? Is it for databases? Is it for Active Directories? Is it for some other application, right? So it makes sense to add that as. And apart from that, you can also add project name. Right now here project name is not mentioned, but generally we also put project name. And apart from all these, some customers that I have seen, right, they work with both multiple clouds, not just Azure. Okay, in that case, it also makes sense to add AZ, indicating that this particular resource is for Azure. People do that. For AWS, they add AWS. For Azure, they add AZ. So naming conventions play a very important role. All right. So before creating virtual machine, we need to first understand the various components of virtual machines. So please pay attention, guys. This is very, very important. Okay. All right. So you cannot directly create virtual machine. It's not possible unless you create the rest of the dependencies, right? The first and foremost thing is a virtual network. Obviously, a resource group must be there upfront. But for virtual machines, the very first thing is you need to create a virtual network. That's important. Now, we all know, right, what is a network? We all know LAN. When you're working in office, all of the users in the organization will be obviously connected to a LAN, local area network. So virtual network is very similar to that. In Azure, it's called as VNet or virtual network. Both are same. So now within the VNet, definitely there should be a subnet. Minimum one subnet is mandatory. So subnet is nothing but a subset of a given virtual network. You can have multiple subnets within the same VNet. That's absolutely okay. So once subnet is created, the next thing that we should be doing is creating an IP address. That it could be a public IP address or private IP address. Right? The public IP address again has two things: dynamic versus static. Do you always want to have the same IP address, or do you want to dynamically change the IP address? So both options are available, right? Most of us, for it's recommended to use static IP address in some scenarios. It's recommended to use dynamic IP address in some scenarios. We'll not go into all that now, but assume that for now, public IP address is a separate component which will also which should be created while creating the virtual machines. Okay, and then NSG. This is very, very important. NSG stands for Network Security Group. So this is the firewall that can be used to control the traffic. I'm sure everybody would have heard about firewall, right? Basically, firewall is for security, so which avoids hackers, right? So now in Azure virtual machine world, NSG is the one which will control the traffic coming from the internet. It will also control the traffic going outside from the VM. That's also possible. So NSG can be used for controlling the traffic in either ways, both incoming as well as outgoing traffic from the internet, from and to the internet. Now, these NSGs must be created separately and must be attached. Then only the rules will be applied. Okay, so I'll come back to NSGs in a moment, but before that I need to explain this NIC card, NIC card. network interface card. So I'm sure every one of us have used this already. Anybody? Do you know what is NIC? Network interface card?
Internet.
Very good, right? We all use laptop and desktops. Definitely, many of us would have used desktops. So how do you connect internet to desktops? We used to plug in the LAN cable, right? So that piece is called as network interface card. Even our laptops also has that LAN cable, right? Whenever you plug in that LAN cable, basically you are plugging that wire into NIC card only. So internally there will be a small card which is in green color, right? Motherboard will also be in green color. That piece is called as network interface card. So here network interface card is also a separate component that must be attached to the virtual machine, as you see in this diagram, right? So we also need to create NIC card, and once that is done, we can also optionally create a storage account. In Azure, there is another component called storage account. We learn all this, which is used to store some data. Okay, so virtual machines use storage account for storing diagnostic information. So when did the server started? What activities are performed in virtual machine? All that information is stored in diagnostic logs. So the architecture in Azure is a little different when you compare your local servers, because in our local laptops, desktops, everything is dedicated to us, right? Our hardware is only for us. Our CPUs are only for us. RAM is only for us. Every other component is only for us. But in Azure, it's not that way. In Azure, everything is flexible. You can release any component whenever you don't want it. So all that flexibilities are in place. Okay? So that's why the storage, the storage will not be part of VM. It will be external to that VM. So that way, the advantage of externalizing the storage separately is you can stop this VM whenever you want. You can release this VM whenever you want to Azure. So sometimes you might not need a VM. So in that case, you can release it to Azure and you are not charged. Okay, so that way you're not losing your data. If you store data inside VM, you will lose the data, right? So that's why the storage of logs, the storage of disks is all externalized. Okay, yeah. So here we will use storage account for diagnostic. It is optional thing. You don't need to create, but optionally you can create it. And finally, the virtual machine must be created. Okay, so all of these are various components. Now, earlier I talked about NSG. In this diagram, if you observe clearly, the NSGs are attached at subnet level. This gray color rectangle is a subnet. So in real time, one subnet can contain multiple VMs. In this diagram, we are showing only one VMs, but in real time, there could be 2 VMs or 100 VMs or 1000 VMs. Okay. So now this NSG can be attached either to a subnet or to a virtual machine. In fact, virtual machine will not be directly connected to NSG, but NSGs will be attached to NIC card and NIC card is attached to VM. That's how NSGs will be applied to VM. And same case is with public IP address. We all refer this statement, right? My IP address of the VM is so and so. No, actually, IP addresses are not directly attached to a virtual machine. IP addresses are attached to NIC cards. And obviously, because NIC cards are attached to VM, the IP addresses on NSG are referred from VM as well. Okay, so important point is NSGs can be either attached to a subnet or any card. It supports both. If the Nsg is attached to a subnet, then the rules inside Nsg will be applicable to all VMs inside the subnet. It's as simple as it is. Okay? All right. So, and then there are also some disks, right? So by default, when we create a VM, only OS disk will be created. Data 1, data 2 will not be created. Okay. So these are called as disks, and when you create disk, they will be created in something called as managed disks, which is again part of storage account. We did not work on storage account yet. We'll see storage accounts later in the course. So when we create a VM, OS disk is created out of the box. Along with that, a temporary drive is also given to us. Okay? So this OS drive label is C drive. Obviously, we all know, right? And this temp drive is assigned a D label. Now D column label is temporary drive. We should not save any important files inside this D drive because it's temporary. After a restart of the virtual machines, we will lose those files because it's a temporary drive. It's not part of any storage account as such. It is part of the physical host. So we are working on a virtual machine, right? For us, it is all virtual. But technically, there will be physical servers inside the data centers of Azure, right? So D drive is part of physical server. So we should use only for some temporary reasons. Internally, the operating system will also use it for diagnostic purposes as well, temporarily. And because it is SSD, so in case if you have never heard about SSD, SSDs are faster disks, solid state drives. They are very fast. So if you want a temporary location for doing any processing temporarily, then you can use D drive for such activities. So because SSD, it uses SSD internally, so they are very fast. Okay, so that's the details about components. So let's move into Azure Management Portal and start creating virtual machines. Okay. So before that, I think I can see some questions. Yeah, does VM is the first thing that we need to create in cloud? Not really. It all depends. So Timari is asking, which service we will be creating first in the cloud? So we don't need to create virtual machine first in the cloud, but we need to first create an Azure subscription. So I think I already showed you that. Probably Timari were not there. So the very first thing that you should do in Azure, whether you are learning or for your customer, is creating an Azure account. So we're all learning now. You can also create your own account. This is the very first step. To do that, you will get $200 credit from Microsoft. This amount is valid for the very first month, 1 month only, 30 days. Okay. So after, I already discussed this. You can directly click on this. It's very straightforward, and click on Start Free. It hardly takes 5 minutes for you to create this. This is the very first step. Once that is done, the second step is creation of resource group. So how did I come here? I clicked on resource groups. I arrived here and I can click on create button to create a new resource group. So let me quickly create a new resource group. DevOps, Dev, Stateless, RGD. This is for VMs because VMs are a little expensive. So I am going to delete it soon. So let me now create a VM resource group for specifically for VM. So this is the second step. Similarly, and now depending on the requirement, you can create whichever service you want, whether it is a virtual machine, database, anything. Okay, I hope I answered your question, Timari. And Phil is asking, is Nsg stateful or stateless? It's stateful. It stores the We can create rules, all that. I will show you that in a moment. There are different types of Nsg rules, inbound, outbound. I will show you how to create one. What are the best practices? All that I will explain in a moment. All right, now this resource group, just created it temporarily and it doesn't have anything. Let me make some room here. And yeah, there are no resources. We are going to create a virtual machine now. So how do we create virtual machine? Where should I click? Can someone help me? We already created a couple of services, right? So now where should I go to virtual machine? Where should I click?
Resource.
Create button.
Yes, very good. Plus create button. This is one way. What is the other way? There are menu items here, right? So here you can see virtual machine. For some reason, if you don't see virtual machines here, how do I add a menu item of virtual machine here if it is not there?
All services.
Sorry?
Make it a star, yeah.
Yeah, I removed it now. There is no virtual machine here now. Now, what should I do?
Go to all services. You can add.
Very good. All services. And then search for virtual machines. It is here. If you don't see something here, then search for virtual machines like this. Hover on this. A pop-up will come up. Sorry, a pop-up will come up, and you can click on star button. That will add a virtual machine at the end. Now you can do a drag and drop here, wherever you want, and then you can click on create button. This is also another option. So here directly go to this. Okay, but when you click on this button, you see many other categories. So virtual machines fall under compute. So you can click on virtual machine like this. Okay, so now you see there are many tabs this time. Earlier when we created some services, there were hardly one or two, right? But now you can see at least 6, 7. So the experience is same. We need to choose our resource group. This is the one that we just created. Now fill all the details. Let me take a pause here. Right now, it just says virtual machine. What happened to other components? I showed you many components in the diagram, right? I mentioned that we need to create virtual network first, subnet, IP address, NIC card, Nsg, all that, right? That's what I mentioned. But here, the screen, it says virtual machines directly. But in our case, virtual machine was last one, right? So we should create rest of all the resources first, and then finally we should create virtual machine. That's what I explained, right? But Azure Management Portal is very intelligent. We wanted to create virtual machine, so it automatically allows us to create the rest of the items while creating the virtual machine. That will be taken care automatically. See, the disk will be created here. Virtual network subnets will be created here, including NSGs, all that. And diagnostic will be created here. And some other advanced settings will be created here. So that means whenever you create any resource in Azure, it will also allow us to create the dependency resources as well. For example, resource group. If I don't want to use this resource group, I can create a new one. It opens up a pop-up, that's it. So the management portal is very intelligent and it's very user friendly. Okay. All right, let's get some meaningful name here. It's not at all good, but when you work in your project, you should follow the naming conventions from God. So I want to create a VM inside US, so I'll be choosing East US. You can choose whichever you need. For now, we will ignore this availability. Yeah, I want a standard one. Now you see image. This is very important. So which operating system you want to install. So by default, it shows us some of them. I have recently used some of these. So not just OS, you can choose 2022 data server, data center. We can also do Windows 10, or sometimes I might be creating some servers for some specific reasons. Probably, for example, I want a VM with SQL Server installed inside it. So obviously I need to search for SQL Server. It is not showing here, but in that case, you can click on this, see all images. It opens up a pop-up where I can do a search. I hit enter. Now you can see SQL is there. So now I can choose this if I want Windows Server 2016 and SQL Server 2017 software inside it. So you can do all that. There are third-party companies as well, which provides us custom images. We can also leverage those. Okay, so all that is possible only in IaaS. This flexibility is not there in paas. This flexibility is only in IaaS. Okay, I want a simple Windows server. So I don't want any complexity. So I'll just choose simple select. It will show me all the available servers. I'll pick one of them, probably Windows Server 2022 data center. Okay. So now next thing is, what is the capacity? We have selected operating system. Now this is the size which decides the capacity of the virtual machine. You can have 2 cores, 8 GB RAM. There are many configurations, right? So now let me show you all sizes. You see, this is very important, guys. These are all series. Even in interview, people would ask you, have you worked with virtual machines? You'll say yes. What type of virtual machines did you create? You should select, you should say one of them, D series, B series. This is only for non-production scenarios, but from D onwards, people use this kind of series for production. I have a slide for this. So the RAM, 128 GB RAM, 64 GB RAM. If you look at this, you will go up to 400 GB of RAM. I don't know which category it belongs to, but there are servers with 400 GB of RAM as well. Okay, so I'm going to choose a basic one with 2 GB, two cores and 4 GB RAM. Select this and click on select. That's it. Look at the price. It's around $800 per month. So that's how you choose the capacity. Now, while we are creating this virtual machine, we have selected this. It's obviously possible that you can change it later. Whenever you think that this capacity is not sufficient, yes, it is possible to increase the capacity. That's absolutely possible. So now it is asking username password for admins. So let me key in the password. And then it is asking, do you want to allow any ports? This is where firewall coming to picture, right? So now many of us would need a virtual machine and we should log into that virtual machine, right? So here inbound rules are being configured. This is part of NSG, Network Security Group. So Network Security Group is nothing but a group of rules. Okay, here there is a warning. We should generally do not do that in production servers, but for now, yeah, we can enable this. We can enable only RDP. Don't enable rest of them. So 3389 is a default RDP port that is used for connecting remotely. So I need that because we need to connect to it. That's it on the basic thing. Of course, I don't want to choose this. Basically, it's if you have license Windows existing license, then you can choose this. and it will reduce some cost. I don't have any license, so I'm unchecking it and I'm moving next. So there are different types of disks. Premium is expensive, so I'm going to choose standard HDD, which saves a lot of money. And then the rest of them, encryption types, depending on the requirements, you can pick. And I don't want to create any additional disk because by default C drive will be created. If you want E drive, F drive, blah blah blah, then you need to create a new disk and attach that to the virtual machine from here. So we're not going to do all that. And now I will leave all the rest of them to default, but let me quickly show you what happens here. So automatically this management portal will understand that this needs a new virtual network, new subnet, new IP address. These are all new things that will be created automatically. And by default, a basic network security groups will be created. Okay, and we have already seen this in the first step. So same thing is shown in the second step. I will leave the rest of the all fields and let me quickly click on create and review. So I'm not going to discuss the rest of all the features because it's more for administrators. It's not, I mean, you don't need to DevOps engineer, need not worry about all that, but definitely having that knowledge will definitely add value. So I will leave it to you guys to learn more about the rest of the features. Now let me click on create button. Now it will automatically understand which one to create first. So first virtual network must be created, you see. Virtual network, NSG's public IP address, these are independent resources. They don't depend on each other. That's why those three were initiated initially. Some of them got created. Immediately, the next set of resources are created. I can move to resource group and see. Yeah, I can see 3 resources got created. In another 1 minute, our VM will be up and running. So initially, few years back, 6 years back, it used to take hours for this to complete, but now it is hardly 1 or 2 minutes. So definitely a lot of improvements will be done by Microsoft internally. A VNet is created, subnet will not be shown here. Subnet will be shown inside this. Virtual machine is also created. It will be in provisioning state. If I open this, it will be provision state. IP address, NSG, NIC card, disk. This is OS disk. This will be part of storage account. This is called as managed disk. Okay. So let me refresh. Yeah. So we need a virtual machine, right? It will take some time for us to log in because it is, you see, it is still in creating state. So this virtual machine is automatically attached to public IP address. It is attached to a network and subnet is all shown here. It will have a public IP as well as private IP as well. If you want this VM to be very secured, then you can detach this public IP address. That's absolutely possible. You can only have private IP address. All that is possible. And I just saw the notification that deployment is succeeded. Virtual machine got created successfully. Now I can log in. Though it is still saying that it is creating, let me refresh this. Yeah, now it is in running state. Now I can click on connect button. I can connect to VM in 3 different ways. So we have enabled RDP port. So this is IP address. I can download this file. I can click on this downloaded thing. Yeah, don't worry about this. This is more about security certificate and all, but that's fine. Click yes, and they will be logged into the virtual. So I am logging into a VM from another VM. Because the first time we are logging into this, it will take some time to set up some personalized settings. So today we are learning on creating this manually from the portal, which is not a recommended approach in real time for your projects. We'll have to automate this. Okay. So tomorrow we'll start learning how to automate this. Okay. So now you can see this is the VM. It has 2 disks. One is C drive, the other one is temporary drive. You should never save anything in temporary drive. In fact, there is a warning here by Microsoft themselves. Any data stored is subject to loss. There is no way you can recover it. Please don't save any personal or application information. Okay, so now if you see this, observe this, the size is 126 GB. It's close to 128. The rest of the 2 GB probably is reserved for something. Otherwise, this is 128 GB. That's a by default one. Can we extend it? Absolutely, it's possible to extend up to 4 terabytes. Only operating system can use 4 TB only. You can also extend this beyond 4 TB, but 4 TB or 4095 GB is the maximum capacity of C drive. So here it is 126 GB. That's the default capacity of this. But of course, you can extend. Can we add E drive, F drive? Yes, absolutely, you can add. There is a limitation for each type of VM. Remember, we have seen sizes, right? D series, F series, E series, L series. So every server will have its own capacity in terms of number of disks that we can add. Okay. Let me close this service. It will open automatically. Now, let's say we use this because we have control on operating system. We can install antivirus. We can install any software. We can install database servers, web servers, anything. Right. So for now, let's say we don't need this because our job is just to create a VM. For today, tomorrow we might do something. So what I can do is I can stop it. Okay, that's one possibility. Let me show you how to stop it. So here we are in VM, right? This is our VM. So go to overview and here you can say stop. When you click on stop, what happens is you are telling Microsoft that I don't need these two. Please release it from my account and give it to someone else who is in need. That means you don't need to pay from now onwards until you start it again. That's the flexibility that you get in. I don't want to do it now. I want to show you something. Let's say we don't want, 2 VMs and 4 GB is not sufficient for our requirement. We want double the capacity. So how do you do that? Basically, we can resize it. So go to size. Now you see there are options, right? So scroll down and you can choose whichever you want, whichever is supported. So our case is double the capacity. That means 4, probably 16 GB RAM. Now observe guys, there's a problem here. I'm already logged into this VM, right? Now I'm changing the capacity of the server. Before, let me take a pause here. Let me ask you a question. We're all using laptops or desktops. Is it possible to increase RAM without shutting down your machine?
No, sir.
Obviously,
No.
no, right?
Oh,
No.
no.
Yeah. In the same, it applies little similar here. I'm increasing the capacity, doubling the capacity or decreasing the capacity. I might be doing some resizing operation. Even the case is same. It needs a restart. Our virtual machine will be automatically restarted. You see, keep an eye here. You see, the remote desktop session ended for some reason. The reason is restart will happen automatically when we resize. That's a small problem in virtual machine. Problem in IaaS. It's a small problem for us, but it's a large problem in real-time production scenario. We cannot do anything for that. There is no solution. You say that no, I want double capacity, but I don't want to restart it. It's not possible for one machine. In that case, you need to have a cluster, create multiple VMs, do replication. All that should be done slowly. There will be multiple servers, so obviously one server shutdown or restart will not impact the rest. That's the workaround that we should do in real time. Okay. All right. So now the size is restarted and the size is increased. It is not showing that here yet. It will take some time. We selected right 4 cores and 8 GB RAM, 16 GB RAM, I guess. It is still not showing. So let me go here and see what exactly is the selected size.
Okay.
Yeah, if the virtual is running, size will cause to stop. Yeah, it is still not showing it here.
It is showing.
Not sure.
Let's connect to it. I think I selected right. I did.
It was showing, Praveen, size was showing.
It is updated, Praveen.
Sorry.
It is updated. It's now showing
It
4
is
cores.
updated.
If you go to the overview, you can see the size.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, it is showing the new one. Yeah. It took some time. Every time you don't need to download this file. If you remember this, you can directly do a RDP. Don't ask me again on this computer. So definitely in IaaS, a restart is required when you resize it. Whether you are increasing or decreasing, in either cases, a restart is required in IaaS. But in paas, you will not see this downtime. There will be a slight downtime here, right? For a couple of minutes, 1 or 2 minutes. You will not see this impact in paas. Okay. So now we have seen how to resize it. Let's say we don't need it for today. So I am going to stop it. Now while stopping it for the first time, do you want to reserve this IP for you? Yes, please reserve this for me. Don't delete it. Don't assign it to somebody else. Okay, so because when you stop the server, obviously you're not using the IP address. So I should ask us, do you want to reserve it for you? Yes, please reserve it. Now it will go into, yeah, it got disconnected. This will go into deallocating state. So stopping is different from shutting down. Very important, guys. When you log into the server, there also you will see shutdown option, but you should not shut down. Shutting down is different and stopping is different. Shutting down means you are not using that computer, that's it. The computer will not be running, but still the CPU, RAM, everything is allocated to you only. But stopping means deallocating. Deallocating means you're telling Microsoft that we don't need it, please release it from my account and give it to someone else. So now I'm not, from now onwards, I'm not paying any money to this two resources. But what happens to our data? C drive is our OS, right? We might have installed many softwares. So all that is with us. we are still charged for our storage because we only released the capacity, which is CPUs and RAM. So that's how the pricing works in virtual machine. So when we log in next, our files will be as is, except D drive. D drive, if you have saved anything, you will lose it, but rest of them is all with us only. Okay. I can see some questions.
Praveen, when we say that, do you want to reserve the public IP address, would that be chargeable even if we stop the virtual machine?
Yeah, good question, right? So there are 5 to 10 IP addresses which are free for a given subscription. The initial 5 or 10, I don't remember the exact number. It was definitely 5 few years back. I think now they have increased the limit, the free limit. The first 10, I guess, the first 10 IP addresses are free of cost. From there onwards, yes, it is chargeable. So now, how do I know which resource? How do I know the price of each resource? That might be a question, right? So Microsoft gives a free tool, Azure Pricing Calculator. Anybody can use this. There is no subscription required. So the question is on IP address. So search for IP address, select this. It will immediately show you on pop-up. Click on view. It will take you here. So what do you want beyond IP address? Basic or standard? Basic is something that is sufficient. Do you want dynamic or static? How many you want? You want it ever? Obviously, IP address we will need it forever, right? So if I want one, it's $2 per month. Okay. So there is nothing, no information about free and all, but definitely the first five IP addresses were free. So this is monthly cost, $2.63 is monthly cost for IP addresses. Okay, so in the same way you can calculate everything. So when you work in your projects, right, you will be giving, you will be getting some architecture from your architects. So definitely you can come here for pricing calculation. So Microsoft, this tool is very handy. You can delete, you can add, blah blah blah. So you can add whatever is required here. Currently it is empty. So let me add IP address again. You'll add all your services here. Once you add everything, you can even export it to Excel. It provides a clean, neat Excel, and you can share it with your customers as well. So cost estimation is also one of the important steps when you are designing your solution, your projects. So pricing calculator is the one which helps a lot. All right. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, IP address is also chargeable unless it is the initial 5 or 10 IP addresses. All right. I think there are a few more questions. Vinay is asking where we selected the location as east to west. Okay. So while creating, we have selected, we must select east to west as the region, right? Let me quickly show you again. So virtual machine, while you are creating, one of the fields will be choose the region. See here, region you should choose. So here I have selected east to west. Okay, I hope I answered this question. What about nodes? Muhammad is asking about nodes. I'm not sure what to mean by nodes. So Muhammad, to elaborate that a bit.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Actually, I was looking for the daily notes, like for the today class VM.
Good. I will talk about that in a minute. Yeah, sure. Notes, right? The PowerPoint slides, whatever we are saying
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, you
I
can
will
share me.
Sure.
Okay.
I will explain that in a moment. And Timurdi asking, how do we differentiate IaaS and paas? How do we differentiate? There is nothing. Nothing in the portal using which you can differentiate. Nowhere it says that VMs are part of IaaS. No, nowhere you will see that. Okay, you have to learn that. That's it. Anything related to VM is all IaaS. Anything that is not related to VM, it's paas. It's as simple as it is. And serverless will also come into picture. So function app is serverless, logic app is serverless. So how do I know that? It's based on experience. That's it. Okay. Yeah. Timuradi, I hope I answered your question. How to access private IP? Can we create our own private and public IPs? Yep, you can create IPs for sure. So IP address. For example, the requirement is just to create an IP address. So I already have two IP addresses. This is the one that we just created. Click on create button. Now you see which type of IP version you want. Is it version 4 or 6? Standard, basic, tier, regional, global. So you can say whether you want dynamic, all that is possible. You can do that here. So private IP addresses will be automatically attached to the VM. So you can create IP address like this. That's answer to Timuradi. Okay. All right. So I think that's about it on virtual machine, guys. Today we have done using portal manually. It's not a good practice because definitely even if you have requirement for going to virtual machines, you have to create that in multiple environments, right? So even now I don't remember what all settings I have provided to the VM. So obviously when you create UAT environment or production environment, definitely will not remember, you will make mistakes. That's why automation is important. Tomorrow we will see how to automate this process. We'll write some code. We'll start writing code from tomorrow onwards. So you should pay a lot of attention because if you have not worked on code earlier, it's actually not code. I should say it's a configuration language. It is very simple. It is human readable. So tomorrow we'll see Terraform. Start working with Terraform. For that, we need to install some tools. Okay, let's do that really quick.
Yeah, sir.
Guys,
Excuse me.
I request everybody to create an account today because we have started with hands-on labs here. I request everybody to. Mohammed, can you please go on mute for a moment? There's some background noise. Thank you, Isaac. So I request everybody to create an account. It's very straightforward. I don't need to explain that. You just search in Google Azure free trial or Azure free account, and it will take you to the steps. It will hardly take 5 minutes. You need a valid credit card, email address, and a phone number. That's it. Okay. Please create an account and start practicing whatever I'm doing here, right? You should practice every day.
Debit card not accepted.
Debit card is also there, supports debit card, but I have heard from many people that it is giving problems. So in that case, what we can do is, let me show you quickly. Azure trial. There is a chat available at the bottom of the screen, right hand side. If you are facing any debit card issues, then talk to these guys. Click on the button, you can start chat and they will help you and tell them some information, but don't give card numbers or passwords, but just tell them that this is my email address, I'm facing so and so while creating account. Internally they will figure out a way and they will help you. Okay.
Praveen, one question.
Yeah.
When we created a virtual machine, all those things like Nsg, IP, and VNet got created. But when we stopped virtual machine, still these services are up and running. So we have to go and individually stop all the service so that billing would not proceed.
You cannot stop everything. It's not possible to stop all services. Some of them are not charged at all. For example, VNet subnet, there is no charge for them. Nsg, there is no charge.
Okay.
Okay, storage, obviously, we are using some servers, right? So definitely storage is charged. IP addresses, some of them are charged. If you run out of the free quota, then IP address will be charged. NIC cards, I don't think NIC cards are chargeable. Yeah, but I don't know. So you cannot stop all the services. Only a couple of them you can stop. In paas, you cannot stop. You can stop, but still you are charged. So in iaas, you have that flexibility of stopping the VM. So when the VM is in stop state, you are not paying money for CPU, you're not paying money for RAM, you're not paying money for Windows license as well. Obviously, Windows VM means Windows is licensed version, right? So because it is in stop state, we don't need to pay money for Windows OS as well. Okay. All right. So now let me show you Nsg. I will just take 5 more minutes, guys. Let me quickly show you Nsgs. I have followed from best practices for my VM, the current VM that we are seeing, right? So the one that we created is this, but the one that I am using right now, this machine, this browser you are seeing is a virtual machine. The name of that virtual machine is this. Okay. So let me quickly show you Nsg rules, the firewall. For example, this VM's IP address is this. You all know that, right? Now let's say I share my username and password, but still you guys will not be able to log in because I have set up a firewall rule. The firewall rule is this. These are the rules. Deny everybody. Only allow from this IP address. So this is my geo IP address. I use geo internet. So the IP address that is given to me is this. And of course, this will change. So that means only from this IP address, you can log into this virtual machine. Even if you have username, password, you cannot log into this machine because of this firewall. So I have created inbound rules. You also can control outgoing outgoing traffic as well in outbound rules. So Nsg is nothing but set of rules. It contains inbound rule to control the traffic which is coming inside. Outbound rules are to control the traffic which is going outside. So by default, when an Nsg is created, these three are created automatically, and these three outbound rules are also created automatically. Top of this, we can add our own rules by clicking on this or by clicking on this. I use these buttons to create this. Let's say I want to change it for some reason. If my IP address changes, so I need to click on this. I need to modify it here. So basically, many people in interviews ask this: how do you create a Nsg rule? So choose the source IP, source ports, target, destination. Where do you want? You want to connect to a network, blah blah blah, IP address, blah blah blah, right? And what is the destination port? What protocol you want to use? Whether you want to allow or deny? What is the priority? Priority is nothing but rank. Then name and description. So these are the properties that you provide when you create a Nsg rule. This is a very important question that many people ask. Okay, that's a quick intro about Nsg. This is very, very important. Any questions, guys? I think I'm pretty much done for today. Tomorrow we'll see Terraform. Start working with Terraform.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So, how much days does it take to complete this Azure session? I mean, this admin part?
It's 30 hours course.
30 hours. After that, we'll go to the DevOps session, right?
No, overall it is 30 hours.
Achha, total course.
So we will be learning Azure as well as DevOps side by side. So today, whatever we did, it's all in Azure. Tomorrow we'll start Terraform. Terraform is more for DevOps.
Okay.
So we'll learn Azure today, and then we'll dive into DevOps and come back to Azure. So basically, before you automate something, you need to know how to do it manually, right? That's why I'm showing you manually now. Tomorrow I will show you how to automate it using.
Yeah, okay, right. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Now it's quiz time, right? Quiz time, guys. Let me quickly share the link, and I am open to any other. Oops. I'm sharing you a link where you can start giving answers intentionally. There are a couple of questions which are not explained in this session, so I want you guys to research and answer them. So I'm sharing you the link. You should not ask. Oops, wait guys, I might ask you password. Oops, 1 second, sorry guys, I shared it only with one person. Yeah, everybody should have received the link. Can you please click on that and let me know if it is asking for any login? No, it's not asking for any login. Yeah, I think please start submitting it. And if anybody has any questions, yeah, I'm open for that as well. Please go ahead, guys. Any questions? Link is given in the chat, right? The GoToMeeting chat.
Yeah, we don't have any.
No, you can check. Okay, Rajendra, I don't see that. Okay, let me reply to Rajendra.
Got it. No, I got it.
Yeah, hello, sir. Hello.
Please go ahead, Timarani.
Sir, I use my 1 month free subscription. It will charge any time further?
No. First 1 month, no charges. But be careful, okay. If you are creating virtual machines, don't forget to stop it. If you don't stop it, you will lose those credits in just a couple of days or week. So always be very careful.
Sir, I am unable to remove my card. How to remove that card?
You want to remove your card?
Yes, sir.
Why? I mean,
I am unable to remove that, sir. It's showing that please replace or update. It is asking.
Okay, so basically there is some admin issue. I will share you a link. Let me make a note.
Sir, can I use for the same card for another account?
No, it's not possible.
Only one card, one time.
Yes. Basically, phone number, email, and card. It's a combination of 3, which is unique.
Okay. Sir, can you share the recorded videos of last 3 classes, Monday to today?
Yeah, I already shared with the point of contact. I have shared it with Venu. I think you are from Navansan,
yes,
right?
Sir. Yeah, but they didn't share it, sir. Can you contact with me?
Yeah, yesterday evening I shared it with him. So please ask him again.
Okay. Sir, can you share directly to me instead of asking them?
Let me talk to them, okay? Because you are from
okay,
there, right? So take this. I will talk.
Yeah, can you give me directly updates to me instead of asking them what's going?
Got it. Yeah, I'll talk.
Yeah, okay. With regarding reading material, instead of slides, and I'll additionally provide the reading material.
Sure.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
I can see one response. Good. Guys, don't submit anything, right? So think about it. You can Google it. I have no issues. Intentionally, I added some of the questions which were not discussed in the session. The reason is you should learn. You should start learning on your own, because it's a ocean, right? It's a Azure is a kind of ocean of oceans. Every service in Azure is ocean. So Please read, Google it. For example, there were a couple of questions related to availability set. Intentionally, I did not explain that. Please read it in Google and answer it. I can see 2 responses so far. Yeah, one of you got 10 points. Very good.
Sir, can we have weekly discussions?
Sorry?
Weekly discussions at the conclusion of weekend.
Conclusion of it. That.
I mean, so for what you have discussed in a week, can we recap that in a week?
Recordings are shared only for that reason, Timaradi. Definitely have sessions in the weekends. We'll try.
Praveen, you said you would be installing some of the software, so you would do that tomorrow, or you would be?
Yeah, I think Vijay, you are there. Yeah, thanks for reminding Rakesh. Vijay Kulkarni.
I'm here.
Yeah, so let me make you presenter.
Okay.
Are you submitting quiz? I think you're done. Yeah, I can see your name there. Yeah, I made a presenter. Can you please share your screen?
I need to give permission. Just a second. Actually, it's on Mac, right? I'm not sure. I need to quit again. Just give me a second. Huh?
Sure.
I might have to join again. Just
No worries, Vijay. I think some. Okay, he has left. I think.
are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I actually in the what do you call? I had to give permission, so that's the reason why I had. Okay. So
I made a presenter. Can you please quickly share your screen?
Okay. I'm under Windows 11 machine.
We'll start with Visual Studio Code first. Can you please download Visual Studio Code?
It's already downloaded.
Okay. Can you install it?
Just a second.
So Visual Studio Code. Yeah, we are able to see it. Yeah. So run it.
Please bear with me. It's a bit slow somehow.
Okay.
It's a marriage agreement. Accept.
Yeah. So it's straightforward standard installation. There is nothing special. Yeah. Click yes. Create desktop icon. Yeah. Yep. Install. Yeah. That's it. Okay. So this is how you.
That's the reason why it is given.
It's a very standard installation. Visual Studio Code is open source IDE that Microsoft has initially developed, but now there are many community people like us who are developing extensions. Okay, so extensions play very important role with respect to productivity. That's fine, Vijay. I think I'll show that tomorrow. Don't worry. You can ignore it. I will show that tomorrow. I think we are late now. I will let you guys leave because many of you might have your work. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for your time. Have a good day. Thanks, Vijay, for helping. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you. I will try to bring the Windows 10 laptop, which will be kind of.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, Praveen. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Just a second, Praveen. I'm just trying to see if it's completed.
Yeah, sure.
It's actually I should have changed the path.
Yeah.
That was changed. Right?
Yeah.
I need to that Windows 11 has some permission issues, so I need to release that permission.
Don't worry, Vijay. Don't worry. I will show that tomorrow.
Yep.
Offsite virtual box, I guess.
Vijay, remove all the temporary files and try again.
Sorry?
Remove all temporary files.
Yeah, temporary files is also I have to remove and users. I will do that today.
And also check in the application so that it is installed this. If it is half installed, you can remove, uninstall again, uninstall it.
Yeah. Okay. How should I stop this? Actually,
No, I will end the meeting. Don't worry. Huh? Thank you, guys. Bye.